And we should be good. Let's go.
Good morning. Morning, everybody. May 26th, the slaughterhouse of failure, not in our destiny. We shall persevere until we succeed. Augmandino modified. So today we're going to talk about how to be an inspiring leader. And this is taken from various talks, but the point that comes out of it is that there are a lot of really good examples of how businesses work and how they don't work and how they excel and so on. But the big part about it, I'm going to start from a conclusion that I come to at the beginning, and it's relevant to what we're going to be talking about. And the point is that you cannot try and put a round peg in a square hole and make that person to something he's not. When we talk about inspiration, you know, we're talking about inspiring as being as inspiring as leaders. We're trying to motivate people, and we're trying to make, you know, the team go in the same direction at the same speed with the same rowing power. If it's a boat, everybody's rowing at the same speed and power. And this becomes very difficult because we're all so different. We all have some talents and some challenges, and each one of us has a challenge and some strengths, and we've got to find the strength. So thinking about all of what we're going to talk about today, it's about if I was to restart my life, and even now, maybe start from tomorrow, today, the human resources, the selection of the people we work with becomes of paramount importance. We cannot think about working with everybody to do the same type of thing, same type of job we've got, not job, but work that we have, and be inspired in the same way. It doesn't work that way. We're all different. Some of us have talents that are stronger on the empathy side. Some of us have stronger that are talents that are stronger on the financial side. We're all different. So I've rambled a little bit, but I want to make a point that it's not easy to make everybody pull in the same direction at the same speed with the same foresight and insight that we may have as leaders.
Yeah, I mean, really, as leaders of our organizations, our job is to inspire others. You know, and there's a lot of surveys out there that show that less than half of employees or people within an organization strongly agree that their leaders are inspiring. I'm going to mute all, and then Lawrence, if you could just unmute yourself. But it's important because when employees or people within your organization aren't just engaged but inspired, that's when your organization is going to see real breakthroughs, right? Because inspired people are themselves far more productive, and in turn, inspire those around them to strive for greater heights. So there was a survey done by the Economist Intelligence Unit, and they found that less than half of these respondents said they agree or strongly agree that their leaders were inspiring or were unlocking motivation in their employees or in their organization. So our job should be, based on these surveys that Lawrence and I read through, should be to inspire others in our organization and unlock their motivation. So even fewer of these people felt that their leaders fostered engagement or commitment and then modeled the culture and values of the organization. So as leaders, you know, those are our jobs: to inspire, to unlock motivation, to model the culture and the values of our organization, so that goes downhill within the organization. Once we teach those, once we model those, once we inspire those in our organization, that's going to lead them to then carry those same values throughout the organization. But what's interesting is you really only need one truly inspiring attribute. You don't have to have a whole host. You may have one, you may have two, you may have more, but you really only need one of these inspiring attributes. It could be developing inner resources, connecting with others, setting the tone, leading the team. Those are the big four. So a corollary of the finding of this particular survey and this research was that anyone can become an inspirational leader by focusing on his or her strengths.
Yeah, so, we also, we talk about you can't push a rope. Well, obviously. Why? Because it's not the right person, or we're not inspiring them in the right way. So there are two ways to look at it. One is, when we're not getting the results we want, and we say, well, my gosh, I can't get this person to really engage. Well, maybe that we're not showing them the right inspiration for that individual. So we'll never get anything out of that person with what we're doing. So we actually have to think about it. So you can inspire somebody to do great things if that person becomes a raving fan of the cause that we have, the business that we're in, the mission that we have. But we've got to find what is it that motivates that person. We've got to find what is it that triggers that person to be inspired. Because what inspires one person not necessarily going to inspire the other person. Leaders are not born with, they're formed. Leaders are made, and that they become leaders, we become leaders, they become leaders if we unlock their passion. And that's what we've got to look for. We've got to look for the passion in everybody to become outstanding. And once we have that, then we're more likely to have a team that succeeds. And the team is where it's important, because we're trying to coordinate an effort of many people to a same goal, to achieve their goals. But somebody's goal may be financial. That's what the person's really focused on, while the other person will almost do it for nothing because it's a mission of helping people. I've spoken to many people, especially nurses, that have this compassion and passion in life, that they realize they're being underpaid and overworked, but they are so focused on helping people. For them, it becomes a higher calling. So that person, a nurse, for example, I'm just using an example, could be inspired in a different way than a person that is inspired purely financially. So we've got to find what it is in ourselves as well. The things that we're looking at: stress tolerance, self-regard, optimism, help leaders develop inner resources, vitality, humility, empathy, help leaders connect. This is part of our mission. Openness. There's a part of this that we'll mention in a minute about openness and honesty within the business, which changed the company completely. Vision focused. Sponsorship to help lead. These are things which we've got to look at in ourselves so that we can then find with others.
Yeah, and inspiring, it's important to inspire others to action and inspire others to focus. This survey that I read also found that many different attributes help leaders inspire people, but they also found that you only need one of them, like I said, and having one of them doubles your chances of being an inspirational leader. So what is your strength? What is it about you and your leadership style that is going to inspire others. And ranking in the top 10% in your peer group on just one attribute doubles your chances of being seen as inspirational. However, there's one trait that the respondents in this survey indicated matters more than any other, and that's centeredness. The state of mindfulness that enables leaders to remain calm under stress, empathize with others, listening as their communication style, and then remaining present in the current situation. And then from that, your key strength has to match your organizational or how your organization creates value. So to win in the market, every company has to emphasize the specific capabilities that make it better than the competition. So what is it about your organization? What is it about Pharmanex that inspires you? And then how do you utilize that within your leadership style to inspire others? Do we inspire because of money? Do we inspire because of lifestyle? Do we inspire because we're helping others? Pharmanex has this whole empower me marketing slogan, and so your leadership style can be about empowering others, empowering yourself first and foremost, but then being empathetic, listening to others within your organization about what is inspiring them to take action and be focused. That's one of the hardest things about our organizations in this business is, we have a volunteer army, right? And how do we inspire people that are out working for themselves? How do we inspire others who may not get paid for the first, couple of weeks or a month in this organization until they start generating sales? And so I have an entirely other sales organization outside of Pharmanex where we provide products to the veteran community and services to the veteran community. And all of my reps are 1099 reps. So it's a volunteer army until they start making money. So how do I inspire them? And what I've really been thinking about this year and even before the year is how is I going to be successful this year? And one of the things that I firmly believe that I need to do to be successful and help others be successful is help them be more focused and help them inspire them to take action. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to do that by spending more time with them. It may be spending more time with them on a Zoom call. It may be spending more time with them in the field, right? And inspiring them to get out the mission that we have to help our veterans receive the best possible healthcare and the best technologies that are available right now within the veteran health community. So I'm traveling more this year than I've ever traveled. I'm spending a lot more time with my folks in the field to inspire them to take action, but more importantly, to inspire them to focus on the things that are going to help them be successful and help as many veterans as we can. And so within our organizations, within Pharmanex, we need to do that same thing. Are we spending enough time with our team? Are we getting to know them? Are we getting to know their families? Are we getting to know what makes them tick? We need to know what makes them tick to be able to inspire them and lead them properly. What is it that makes them tick? Why did they get involved with Pharmanex? Is it because they want to help people? Is it because they've had their own health problems and through nutrition they were able to solve some of those problems or all of those problems? Is it because they want more time freedom? I saw a post this morning about the there's five different definitions of wealth. It's mental, it's physical, it's financial, it's time. There's all of these different things that can inspire us from a wealth perspective as well. So we need to know what those things are that make our people tick.
We've always said it's not about me, it's about you. We've always said that. And if we can find the if we can identify the pains that the person has that we're talking to and talking with, that's where we get where we can motivate. You've got to find what is it that is painful for that person. Is it money? Is it time? Is it health? Is it community? Is it family? What is it? It's the wheel of life. And our job is to identify what it is in that person that is painful for them, that we can alleviate the pain, that we can solve a problem for that person that we're talking to. That's the point of being able to inspire somebody. For example, I'm inspired in the company by the fact that we're with one of the 100 most trustworthy mid-cap companies in the US, given by Forbes. For me, that is huge inspiration, because trustworthy for me is one of the key words in life, in my opinion, for me. If I can talk to somebody and I can say our company is one of the 100 most trustworthy in today's world, when can't believe a damn thing anybody says, apart from just us here on this call, but I mean, you can't really believe anybody. Trustworthy becomes absolutely fundamental for me. That's one of my inspirations for being in this business. So when we talk about, when you, as Dan, you talk about being more with your people, 100%. This is what is the bonding, the human bonding, the most difficult or the scarcest thing we have is human capital. Correctly guided, but it starts with our own thinking. Are we empathetic? Are we empathetic enough? Are we altruistic enough? Do we care enough? Because if we don't, we're only talking about ourselves. We're not talking about everybody else. And for us to succeed, we've got to be able to understand and be in the same boat, but guide the person in the other boat. So I think it's essential that we can really understand and be together with the people that we are trying to motivate, but really understand their pains and help to solve it. That's what this is about. That's how we motivate. That's how we inspire.
Yeah, and you not only need to know what makes the people within your organization tick, you need to know what makes you tick. You know, and Lawrence just went over what makes him tick. He knows what makes him tick. And Lawrence uses that as something to help inspire others. And so that's his, you know, that's what Lawrence uses to inspire everybody else. I mean, I've never seen anybody in this organization inspire people like Lawrence does, because he's so passionate about this and he knows what makes him tick. And then, you know, to further the conversation, you really, your key strength has to match how your organization creates value. You know, how does Pharmanex create value? How does Nu Skin create value? How does your specific organization create value? And to win in the market, every organization must emphasize the special or specific capabilities that make it better than the competition. What makes us better than the competition? You know, think about that. There's a lot of things that make us better than the competition. And we need to emphasize that and utilize those things to inspire those within our organization. One thing that I was reading about was that good leaders need to be spiky, not well-rounded. So those spikes have to be relevant to the way that the company creates value. For example, an organization that makes its money out marketing the competition isn't likely to be inspired by a leader whose best talent is cost management, right? Because they're two separate things, or they're two different things, opposing things, right? You can't spend a lot of money on marketing, out marketing the competition, if you don't have money to do that, right? So spiky leaders achieve great performance by obsessing about the specific capabilities that underpin their company's competitive advantage. And we have a huge competitive advantage. We're the only company that has a device where we can measure nutrition in 30 seconds non-invasively. We're the only company that has 85 full-time scientists. We have all of these resources at our disposal, and to have people maximize the potential of those things, we need to inspire them. We need to inspire them to action and inspire them to focus on the things that are going to help them be successful.
So this is the beauty of our business. Imagine this. Imagine if we were selling, I don't know, tires. You're limited to one thing. You've got to be really passionate about that. But in our case, we've got health, we've got beauty, we've got nourish the children, we've got social media, and money. So that's when we talk about what Dan just said, spiky, where you've got to try and be versatile in your thinking as to who you're talking to. You're talking to somebody who is inspired by feeding, that is such empathy, that is inspired by hungry kids. Well, it's 95% of who we are, but it's 5% of what we do. 850 million meals given to kids that are underprivileged. That is an inspiration to a lot of people too. To say, my gosh, really? That's what you, yes. And we donate the food, and we only, with a small donation of $30 a month, we can feed a child with one healthy meal a day for a month. Oh my gosh, that's an inspiration. Health. We're able to, we've got 75 full-time scientists with 60, 70 products that have to do with health. And we can measure a biomarker of antioxidants. That's an inspiration to other people. Social media, huge inspiration to a lot of different people. They may not be interested in health or in beauty or in nourish the children, but social media, man, they love that. We've got that. So we've got to be able to adapt our thinking to who we're talking to inspire those people to reach their maximum level of potential through their work ethic. And not everybody's work ethic is the same, but we've got to understand who we're talking to. And we've got to understand what makes them tick. Then we can inspire them.
And to inspire them, we need to spend time with them. Yep. So utilize the healthcare forums to spend more time with your organization. That's the best way, the best use, the most efficient use of everybody's time, right? Because you can all get together there. You can put together a game plan. You can spend time on business. You can spend time on pleasure, getting to know each other. Those are excellent opportunities to do that. In my other organization, one of the things that really frustrates me is the companies and the products that we work with, their sales directors are not very inspiring. When we ask them to come in to do some meetings, they come in, they fly in the morning, they leave in the late afternoon. And it's like, you can't get to know your sales reps in a half a day when you're in meetings all day long, and it doesn't inspire people that they're coming in and leaving right away. They're not spending the time to get to know their people. And I've had these conversations with the VP of sales of these organizations because, there's no reason why somebody should fly halfway around the country to spend 5 hours in a territory and then leave to go back home. That's not very inspiring to my people. That's not very inspiring to me. So if they're not going to do that, I need to go out and spend more time with my people, make sure that they're getting taken care of, making sure that we're doing the right things to be successful. And so, one of the other things I wanted to talk about is you have to behave differently if you want people in your organization to do that as well. So leaders who inspire people and generate results find ways to constructively disrupt established behaviors. How do we get people to focus more? How do we get people to take more action? We do that by showing them that we have the behaviors that do that, and we as leaders are able to inspire them to do more. And so my whole thing this year is just spending more time with people showing them that, whatever is keeping them from doing their job or taking action and being focused is not as hard as what they think. And so I get out and I do sales calls with them, and I run the sales calls, and I show them that it's not as daunting as their mind may be telling them that it may be. And so it's very important for us to get out there and spend time with our folks. That's why we utilize three-way calls. We're spending time with our folks. We're showing them how to talk about the business, how to present the business, how to educate on the business. But we need to spend more time with the folks in our organization.
And I just want to mention a couple of other things that are extremely relevant to what you're saying. On what Dan and I were talking about, this Howard Schultz of Starbucks, he closed down 7,000 stores for 3 hours on February the 26th in 2008 to retrain the baristas to make the art of making an espresso. Why? Because if we don't stick to the knitting, if we don't stick to the core business, we can get distracted, and we can start focusing on things that weren't part of our core business. So he shut down 7,000 stores for 3 hours to retrain the baristas about coffee. And it wasn't about money. It wasn't about profits. It was about customer service. It was about understanding who the barista's talking to. It's not just about collecting the credit card. So that was huge. And I think this is something we've also got to think about, because if we get off course a little bit at a time, over a period of months and years, we're way off course, and we're focusing on stuff that's not relevant to our core business and to who we are. I've always talked about a pilot that gets on a plane in Miami and goes towards Rome. If he doesn't tweak the journey, and he goes off by a couple of degrees at the beginning, he's going to end up in Moscow. That's our business. We've got to stick to the core business and understand what it is that we're about, and inspire people by doing that. The other part was Mark Fields, and he was talking about being honest, and this was in Ford, where you are honest enough to admit your mistakes. And by doing that, you can take a fresh look at where you go and change the things you're doing. And by changing the things we're doing, by looking at it, by analyzing, by being on the subject all the time, we can improve and excel in what we're doing. So, just a couple of examples there, but it's important that we understand the huge talent that everybody has, and to inspire them in where they can be inspired. Not everybody's inspired in the same way.
We're running out of time here, but I want to make two very important points. Number one, or three. Number one, in the chat, I put in there is a Simon Sinek TED Talk, How Great Leaders Inspire Action. Everybody check that out. I think you're going to enjoy it. But leaders understand the importance of creating an environment where people can thrive and grow as individuals while working together on a common goal, right? So what is that common goal? How can we inspire others to create an environment, or how do we create an environment where people can thrive and grow as individuals, right? And then, as leaders, we need to show others the way to follow. To inspire others, you need to show them the way. If you want to inspire your team to do something great, then that thing should be something that you do. You don't necessarily need to be an expert at it, but you need to be passionately involved. Want to take any comments, Lawrence?
Just say lead by example.
Yep.
Anybody got anything they want to add? Any comments?
I've heard it said that in order to be a great leader, you must first be a great follower.
100%.
And I think if you model following, then people are more likely to respond to your leadership.
You need to be, great leaders aren't born, right? Great leaders it's
No, they're made.
leadership is learned, right? And so
Yes.
at some point we need to follow to become a great leader, right?
100%.
Great point, Martin.
Anybody
I think
else?
the other thing is, that if you recall back to your school days, I remember having two English teachers, two different types of English teachers. One of them was like Robin Williams in the Dead Poets Society. This guy was inspiring. He just got the guys, he got the students' minds and just molded them and said, come with me on this amazing journey of discovery. And the other one just read Shakespeare. And it was boring. And yet I was inspired by this guy, and talking with other classmates, a couple of them said, oh no, I don't like him at all. I'm much more inspired by this guy. So we don't all respond to the same leaders in the same way. And that's why I think that one of the great strengths of this business model is that it leaves room through the three-way calls. When you say something over and over to perhaps a physician or a prospect, and they just don't get it, and then you get some on a three-way call, somebody says exactly what you've been saying for weeks, and they treat it, oh my goodness, what an epiphany. So different styles of leadership appeal to different people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And I tell my organization that sometimes too. If you're not getting anywhere with somebody that you're calling on, bring somebody else in, because as you mentioned, Martin, the leadership styles are different, the communication styles are different, and people that respond to one may not respond to the other. And so all is not lost if you're not gaining any traction. Bring in somebody else, just like we do on the three-way calls.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Inspire differently.
Yeah, and you don't have to take it personally if somebody doesn't particularly like your style. That's where the ego comes in. Let the ego go out and find somebody that will equate better with the person you're talking to.
Right.
Absolutely.
All
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great long weekend. Happy Memorial Day.
Yep.
Spend time with your families, inspire your families, inspire others within your organization, and have a great weekend.
You too, Darren. Thank you so
Blessings
much.
to everybody.
That was
Thank
Thank you
you.
for the call, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. God bless.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a great
Appreciate
weekend.
it. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. Have a great long weekend.
everyone.